used to go to a lot of Diddy parties right now. You are sweating.
Diddy got a ton of money, he got a ton of influence. The reason people have been quiet so many years is because I believe they're afraid for their lives. I mean, he can get hitmen to come out and touch you. He has a lot to lose, and people that have a lot to lose will do crazy things.
Mark, why is this unfair?
Well, I think that, it's hard to, and there's no right answer here, but my feeling was that going into the weekend, as of Friday and going into the weekend, I thought the defense had a better than 50-50 shot of getting bail. I think when they filed, and I may have mentioned this on this show or at least on News Nation, when they filed their response on Monday, I thought they had the better argument.
We have some breaking news out of New York, folks, where Sean Diddy Combs was back in federal court today.
This was Combs' first appearance before the new judge assigned to his case, and he had his 3 new attorneys with him.
The plaintiff in this case is a friend of Combs' ex-girlfriend, Cassandra Ventura, and she's seeking $10 million in damages from the embattled music mogul. Fashion designer and photographer Brianna Bongolan, also known as Vanna, filed her lawsuit last week in Los Angeles Superior Court.
Can he try for a 4th time, Mark?
Yeah, he absolutely can. In fact, the judge says in his order today that even if they say there's nothing new, he's going to assume under the law, which he can do, that he's going to take another look at this. He can always take another look at this. I mean, I could give you...
Sean Diddy Combs' legal saga just hit a new low. His 3rd appeal for bail? Denied. And his attorney? Absolutely losing it in court after the judge slammed the gavel on any chances of release. The reason for their outrage? Diddy's stuck in the notorious Metropolitan Detention Center, a place infamous for its harsh conditions. From overcrowding to barely edible food, his team claims it's a total nightmare. But is the system being unfair? Or is this justice being served? Let's dive into the chaos.
After what we saw on Friday during the most recent bail hearing in front of Judge Arun Subramanian, the current judge of Combs' criminal case, a judge, by the way, who hasn't heard this bail issue before, it seems a lot more probable. I'm going to explain.
Sean Diddy Combs will officially not be home for the holidays after a judge just denied him bail now for the 3rd time. Diddy's been behind bars since September and will likely now remain there until his trial date, which is in May of 2025.
Could this be the last week Sean Combs remains behind bars? After quite the bail hearing last week, we're going to break down what happened and what could be next for the embattled rapper who's currently sitting in detention as he waits trial on federal crimes charges.
In addition to the violence, the indictment alleges that Combs threatened and coerced victims to get them to participate in the freak-offs.
It does look ridiculous in light of other well-known defendants who are charged with similar types of crimes. They are getting out. They are posting large multi-million-dollar bails. It doesn't seem reasonable that he wouldn't be given that same consideration.
Sean Diddy Combs stays behind bars. Judge rejects bail again. Sean Diddy Combs was not permitted to spend Thanksgiving at home. A federal judge decided Wednesday to keep the hip-hop mogul in jail, accusing him of breaking prison rules and trying to get around them ever since his arrest.
I think when they filed, and I may have mentioned this on this show or at least on News Nation, when they filed their response on Monday, I thought they had the better argument. The government's last salvo or filing, I think, turned his honor. I think what Misty refers to, I mean, I know he based it on the threat of violence. I don't think, my feeling, I don't know, I'm not in the judge's head, my feeling was the allegation that he circumvented some of these phone rules over the weekend, I think just turned him. And I think that's what took so long. And that's it. I mean, he's going to, absent something happening where the government screws up turning over discovery or he gets thwarted in being able to prepare for his defense, he needs to just immediately stop thinking about bail and start preparing for trial, because this is going to trial.
Judge Arun Subramanian laid it all out in a 5-page ruling. He turned down a $50 million bail request from Combs' lawyers, saying the rapper is a serious threat when it comes to tampering with witnesses. On top of that, Combs was caught bending the rules, like paying inmates for access to phone codes so he could make calls to people not on his approved list. The judge didn't hold back. He pointed out that Combs' actions showed he couldn't be trusted to follow conditions of his release. His behavior made it clear that keeping tabs on him outside of prison would be a real challenge. This isn't the first time Combs' legal team tried to get him out during his trial. It's actually their third attempt. This time, they proposed a pretty strict setup. House arrest in his Upper West Side apartment. The plan included round-the-clock surveillance, phone calls only with lawyers, and strict visitor rules limited to family and legal representatives.
Combs' lawyers tried just about everything at this point to get him released, offering a $50 million bond, a 24-hour security team, a home monitoring system at his Upper East Side Manhattan apartment. They tried it all, but the judge still felt that, quote, no condition or combination of conditions will reasonably assure the safety of the community.
But the judge wasn't buying it. He rejected the proposal, putting an end to yet another attempt to secure Combs' release. Given the nature of the allegations in this case and the information provided by the government, the court doubts the sufficiency of any conditions that place trust in Combs and individuals in his employ, like a private security detail to follow conditions, he wrote. Sean Diddy Combs faces explosive charges and stays locked up. Sean Diddy Combs is in deep legal trouble, facing charges like exploitation, racketeering, and transporting people for the rough trade. According to federal prosecutors, the 55-year-old music mogul used his power, employees, and influence to target women. They say he forced them into intimate acts with male adult workers, using threats, narcotics, and coercion.
So why is Diddy deemed so dangerous? Joining me now is one of Diddy's former attorneys, Mark Garagos, and also trial attorney Misty Maris. It's good to see both of you. Misty, why do you think the judge denied it again for the third time? And it took a little bit of time this time. I mean, it seemed like they thought about it more because he didn't just deny it right away.
The judge definitely contemplated this one and asked for a lot of analysis as to why Diddy's case is different than other cases where there are similar allegations in the indictment. But ultimately, in this most recent court order, the judge said that the prosecutors presented direct evidence that Diddy had a propensity for violence. That in combination with evidence that he actually tried to circumvent the rules of the Brooklyn Metropolitan Center, circumvent the rules of the prison when it came to communications, was enough to hold him behind bars and to deny him bail.
These disturbing events, which prosecutors claim sometimes went on for days, were allegedly called freak-offs by Combs himself. His legal team has been trying to get him released on bail, but prosecutors have fought back, accusing him of breaking prison rules and trying to mess with witnesses while behind bars. In a recent ruling, the judge agreed with the prosecutors. He said there's clear evidence that no conditions could guarantee the safety of the community if Combs were released. He also highlighted Combs' ongoing risk of witness tampering.
But all these extra things that have been bubbling around, talk of, maybe corrupting potential witnesses, etc., etc. How much worse is that all potentially making his situation?
A whole lot worse, Piers. That type of conduct, if it's really going on, can be introduced into the trial in front of the jury, and it shows indicia or consciousness of guilt. Someone trying to corrupt the proceedings, allegedly. Now, this has been alleged, but they're saying, the prosecution brought up in his past bail hearing last week that he was abusing his phone privileges in prison. Now, he has a set list of people he can call out to.
One piece of evidence the judge mentioned was the infamous video showing Combs mistreating and essaying his then-girlfriend Cassandra Cassie Ventura at a Los Angeles hotel. The judge called it compelling proof of Combs' harmful tendencies. The ruling also pointed out some shady moves by Combs' legal team. During a hearing on November 19th, his lawyers claimed that notes taken from his prison cell were confidential because they were labeled as legal documents. But when prosecutors shared the photos of the notebooks, there were no labels at all. The circumstances of this incident and the misrepresentations made at the November 19, 2024 hearing, where Combs was present, bear on whether the court can be reasonably assured that any conditions it imposes will be followed, he wrote. Sean Diddy Combs to stay behind bars until trial in May. Diddy isn't going anywhere, at least not until his trial in May. He's been held at the Metropolitan Detention Center in Brooklyn since September, following a nearly 10-month federal investigation. The detention center, a massive federal facility by the Brooklyn waterfront, will remain his home for now.
Can he try for a fourth time, Mark?
Yeah, he absolutely can. In fact, the judge says in his order today that even if they say there's nothing new, he's going to assume under the law, which he can do, that he's going to take another look at this. He can always take another look at this. I mean, I could give you about 40 different examples of things that could happen that could re-raise the issue of bail. But if I were advising him right now, I would be advising him, let's stop talking about bail. Let's concentrate on getting you out of here and on the trial. And that's where I would be focused at this point.
After his arrest, Combs' legal team proposed a hefty bail package to convince the court he wasn't a flight risk. They offered a $50 million bond backed by his Florida mansion and promised round-the-clock private security. Combs would also be cut off from phones, the internet, and any visitors besides his family and lawyers. But prosecutors weren't having it. They argued that private security guards paid by Combs couldn't be trusted to stop him from obstructing justice. They claimed he'd already been interfering before and after his indictment. Last week, the judge dismissed the idea of house arrest at Combs' Miami home, pointing out that the property's dock made it too risky. His lawyers then suggested a Manhattan apartment, but the court remained unconvinced.
And I think that's what took so long, and that's it. I mean, he's going to, absent something happening where the government screws up turning over discovery, or he...
This isn't the first time Combs' bail requests have been denied. Previous judges agreed with prosecutors, citing leaked hotel footage from 2016 showing Combs mistreating his then-girlfriend Cassie. The video, which aired on CNN in May, has become a key piece of evidence. Cassie, whose real name is Cassandra Ventura, filed a civil suit last year and is now at the center of the government's case, identified as Victim 1 in court documents. Judge highlights Diddy's dangerous past as bail denial continues. The court's decision to keep Sean Diddy Combs in jail isn't just about the charges. His harsh history plays a big part. Judge Arun Subramanian pointed to a chilling text from Combs' ex-girlfriend Cassie Ventura, after the infamous hotel attack. In the message she wrote, "I have a black eye and a fat lip. You are sick for thinking it's okay to do what you've done." Combs is facing serious charges, including exploitation, racketeering, and transporting women for the rough trade. Prosecutors describe him as the leader of a criminal enterprise that essayed and threatened women for years. Combs has pleaded not guilty, but the evidence against him continues to mount. One key piece of evidence is a disturbing video of Combs attacking Cassie, which was shown during his September bail hearing. Judge Andrew L. Carter Jr., who initially handled the case, called the footage disturbing. However, Carter later stepped down from the case due to personal ties with one of Combs' new lawyers. In their latest attempt to secure bail, Combs' lawyers tried to downplay the video's impact. They claim prosecutors manipulated the footage, leaving out important parts and showing events out of order. But during last week's hearing, prosecutor Christy Slavic dismissed those claims, stating the video clearly shows Combs striking, kicking, and dragging Cassie. Prosecutors are also arguing that Combs has actively tried to obstruct justice. They accuse him of contacting witnesses, paying someone to publicly defend him, and using a three-way call from jail to reach a co-conspirator. These actions have further convinced the court that Combs is too much of a risk to be released before his trial. Sean Diddy Combs' legal battles continue as he remains behind bars. The drama around Sean Diddy Combs' detention isn't slowing down. Judge Arun Subramanian's latest ruling raised big questions about Combs' contact with a key witness, a male adult worker who testified before the grand jury. The judge pointed out that Combs tried to call and text the witness even after their testimony, and later deleted those messages. His lawyers couldn't provide a clear reason for these actions. Combs' legal team, however, insists these interactions were harmless and part of preparing his defense. They also argue that prosecutors didn't present any evidence of threatening messages. Still, the ongoing grand jury meetings and continued investigation have kept the spotlight on the case.
Sean Combs, Diddy, Puffy, whatever you want to call him, is in big trouble with the feds. He's in the fight of his life. The charges he faces and the allegations are disturbing. The racketeering conspiracy charge he faces carries a maximum sentence of life in prison.
While Combs isn't giving up, the path forward looks tough. His lawyers recently appealed his detention to the U.S. Court of Appeals for the Second Circuit, but hit pause while focusing on their latest district-level appeal. One of his attorneys, Mark Agnifilo, said they're planning to appeal again, but it won't be easy. For now, Combs remains at the MDC in Brooklyn, a facility widely criticized for being unsafe. Over the summer, a New York congressman called for an investigation into its issues, including understaffing, excessive solitary confinement, and physical maltreatment. Just last month, a federal judge labeled the conditions as dangerous and barbaric.
Diddy Combs has been denied bail in connection with the charges he faces. And as Les Trent reports, the music mogul who once traveled by private jet to all those mansions is now in a jail that is notorious for its bad living conditions.
Outside the courthouse, another attorney, Anthony Rico, gave an update. He's doing fine. It's a difficult situation, but he's making the best of it. But Rico also admitted the obvious. Nobody's okay with staying in jail. Sean Diddy Combs stuck in horrific jail as legal battles continue. Combs' lawyer, Mark Agnifilo, isn't holding back when talking about the MDC in Brooklyn. He's called the conditions there horrific and said it's no place for someone waiting for trial. During last week's bail hearing, Agnifilo hinted at wanting Combs moved to a better facility. However, Judge Andrew L. Carter quickly shut that down, saying it wasn't up to him. By Monday, Agnifilo chose not to make an official request for a transfer.
Diddy is now at the Metropolitan Detention Center in Brooklyn, a place that's been described as hell on earth. Fox 5's Lisa Evers is at MDC right now on Diddy's life behind bars. Lisa, what are you finding out tonight?
Well, Natasha and Steve, for the first time in his life, Sean Diddy Combs has spent a week behind bars. He's here inside MDC, where he's been since his arrest on Monday night on federal and other charges.
How long will Combs stay at the MDC? That depends on when his trial starts, and that's not as straightforward as it sounds. In federal cases, trials are supposed to begin within 70 days under the right to a speedy trial. But here's the catch. Defendants often waive that right, so their lawyers have extra time to prepare, especially since prosecutors usually have a head start. Combs' lawyers, however, seem determined to keep things moving. Last week, Agnifilo made it clear that he's not interested in delays. "I'm going to do everything I can to move this case as quickly as possible," he said.
From his $48 million Miami mansion to hell on earth where chaos reigns. Just some of the words used to describe the Metropolitan Detention Center where Sean Diddy Combs is now being held without bail after pleading not guilty to and racketeering charges.
The government is going to mandate that they are responsible for your well-being. They have to ensure the safety of your well-being.
Diddy's lawyer pushes for quick trial amid tough jail conditions. Mark Agnifilo isn't wasting time. During a press conference on Wednesday, he explained that he's pushing for a speedy trial to reduce Diddy's time in what he described as very, very difficult and inhumane jail conditions. The strategy? Force prosecutors to present their case quickly, instead of dragging things out. This approach could prevent them from digging up more witnesses or sorting through mountains of digital evidence. Agnifilo made his stance clear, saying, "They're going to have to accommodate me and him and give us a quick trial, and I'm going to be pushing for that."
His lawyer, Mark Agnifilo, pointed out recent events in that prison, and MDC Brooklyn has been plagued with a lot of violent acts. It's been really criticized in terms of the conditions that prison inmates have to live with.
But it's not that simple. Prosecutors might try to delay the process. Under speedy trial rules, judges can pause the 70-day countdown for specific reasons. For example, Judge Carter already paused the clock after the September 18th bail hearing, excluding several weeks until the next court date in October, calling it in the interest of justice. The next status conference was then scheduled for October 9th.
I have never read 14 pages that contained so much shocking information and allegations. Diddy, among other things, he has been accused of engaging in a conspiracy to foster prostitution, racketeering, kidnapping, narcotics offenses, arson, bribery. That is the beginning.
Delays could also happen if prosecutors file a superseding indictment, basically an updated version of the case. This could add new charges, bring in fresh evidence, or even name additional defendants. Given how the case repeatedly mentions unnamed co-conspirators, this wouldn't be surprising. U.S. Attorney Damian Williams hinted that this might be the plan. At a press conference announcing the charges, he said, "I can't take anything off the table. Anything is possible. Our investigation is very active and ongoing." Diddy's life in danger behind bars over Tupac assassination allegations. Diddy's prison stay is getting scarier, and the insiders say he's terrified for his life. The fear that gang members may target him, linking him to that infamous 1996 assassination of Tupac Shakur. According to reports, Diddy believes that West Coast gang members are out for revenge, seeing him as responsible for Tupac's demise.
And certainly, Diddy would be facing potential dangers because a prison, by virtue of it being a prison, is not necessarily a good place to be. It's not a safe place to be, but particularly this facility is known to have a lot of problems in the last few years.
They're going to keep him outside of the general population to monitor his psychological health, as well as to protect him, because he's such a high-profile figure that he would be a target of violence.
An insider shared with Radar Online that prison is a dangerous place. If a gang has a problem with you, there's always someone willing to do harm. No one, they said, is truly safe. Some even compared Diddy to Jeffrey Epstein, another high-profile figure who met a tragic end. With the possibility of Diddy landing in a federal prison controlled by gangs, there's serious concern that his life could be at risk.
Participating in those videos, you should be worried. You can charge a whole bunch of people, underlings, and then offer to give them deals and immunity in exchange for their cooperation to testify against a main target. Diddy is the only defendant, and thus he is the main target.
The fear doesn't stop there. Gangs hold a lot of power in prisons, even the ones with heavy security. If someone wanted to harm Diddy, it wouldn't be out of the question that prison guards could be involved, much like what happened in Epstein's case. Even though Diddy has denied any connection to Tupac's demise, calling the accusations pure fiction, the feds are still reportedly investigating his ties to the case.
Freak-offs sometimes lasted days at a time. Now, Combs did not do this all on his own. Those individuals allegedly included high-ranking supervisors in the business, personal assistants, security staff, and household staff.
Diddy's jail time could get worse, experts say. The longer Diddy stays behind bars, the more dangerous his situation could become. A prison expert explained that gang members might see taking him out as a big win, especially if he's linked to Tupac's shooting. Detention centers run by the Bureau of Prisons are also a big concern, with some experts saying they create serious risks for high-profile inmates like Diddy. She said, anyone could be at risk in the current state of our detention system. It's a concern for the courts, the government, the defense, and especially for the individuals who are locked up. Diddy's situation draws comparisons to Jeffrey Epstein.
I think it's over.
You think it's over?
I think it's over for him as like a figure in entertainment.
Right. But do you think it's over as him as far as
jail?
like he gets a cell right next to R. Kelly?
I don't think so.
As Diddy's alleged crimes have come to light, people have started drawing eerie comparisons to Jeffrey Epstein, the billionaire who passed away mysteriously in jail in 2019 while awaiting trial. Like Epstein, Diddy allegedly installed spy cameras in his home, and that has his celebrity friends like Justin Bieber, Leonardo DiCaprio, and Kevin Hart worried about what might be exposed.
Epstein shit is going down and Ghislaine's in jail and you have information. There's people on both sides, right? There's the people on the right that are trying to nail the people that are on the left with this. There's people that are journalists that are trying to nail the people that were involved in this.
Which I believe could be with Diddy. And Diddy, listen, and this gentleman said he has a year till trial. Think about it. Epstein committed suicide. The camera wasn't working. The guards didn't know. All nefarious BS things, Piers. Everybody knows what happened. Let's not play those games. And just really quick at the end, Piers, with Justin, that's one of the most egregious. But besides Cassie getting dragged, Justin Bieber did an interview on a podcast, Piers, and he said he was crying. And you're right, Piers. He looks like a shell of a human being.
In a strange twist, Diddy is now locked up in the same Brooklyn detention center where Epstein's associate, Ghislaine Maxwell, was held. Maxwell herself claimed that both inmates and guards had threatened her life during her time there. Now Diddy finds himself in the same Metropolitan Detention Center, facing similar risks.
Epstein, one parallel that I immediately noticed here is that each one of these men had people orbiting them that wanted their time, that wanted their attention. And one of the questions I've gotten since coming out with the book 2 days ago is, if I could prosecute anybody throughout time and history, who would it be?
Well, that's a good question.
It's a great question. No, and in my mind, it's Jeffrey Epstein.
Diddy's legal struggles and his defense. Diddy's lawyer, Mark Agnifilo, acknowledged his client's past mistakes, including struggles with substance use and unhealthy relationships. However, he emphasized that Diddy is now in therapy and working on his issues. Agnifilo suggested that the case is really about a long-term relationship gone wrong, likely referencing Diddy's years with Cassie Ventura, which ended due to infidelity.
That first came to light in Cassie's lawsuit, where she talked about these freak-off parties that he would have at hotels she said, in Atlanta, Miami, LA, and New York.
And they were essentially orgies. But the U.S. attorney for the Southern District of New York, who filed this, laid this out at a press conference and specifically addressed the freak-offs.
Recently, Diddy's legal team admitted he broke jail phone rules at Brooklyn's MDC. Prosecutors accused him of using other inmates as phone access cards, PACs, to reach out to witnesses and potentially sway public opinion.
To circumvent the rules of the Brooklyn Metropolitan Center, circumvent the rules of the prison when it came to communications was enough to hold him behind bars and to deny him bail. But to your point, Brian, the judge definitely went through this analysis. The judge asked for specific case law relating to these specific issues, but ultimately made that determination that Diddy, there was nothing that the defense could offer to make it safe for the community for him to be out on bail.
All these extra things that have been bubbling around, talk of, maybe corrupting potential witnesses, etc., etc. How much worse is that all potentially making his situation?
A whole lot worse, Piers.
But Diddy's lawyer, Alexandra Shapiro, explained that sharing PAC numbers is common at MDC and doesn't amount to trying to obstruct justice. She also pointed out that there's no evidence that Diddy's calls were any different from the ones he could have made using his own PAC.
First of all, what was your reaction to this newest and latest allegation of more than 100 additional victims?
Hi, Nicole. Nice to be with you. It's the proverbial snowball coming down the hill. When you've been living a lifestyle, not just one or two incidences, but a lifestyle which Diddy seems to have led, there's a lot of people, a lot of activity out there. And to be honest, I don't think it's over. I don't think we're at the precipice yet. We're going to see these new claims come out in different states, different jurisdictions. The additional ones will follow, and people are kind of jumping on the bandwagon. And the indictment and the initial civil lawsuits gave a lot of these victims the courage to come forward. There's probably why they didn't come forward before, and now we're seeing it.
In a surprising turn, Judge Arun Subramanian ordered prosecutors to destroy notes taken from Diddy's cell during a raid. The prosecution had argued that the notes were important for their case, but the judge's decision added more tension to the ongoing legal battle.
I remember seeing a quote from Sean Diddy Combs that he said he never wore the same clothes twice.
Oh, and now every day,
now he's got to wear that little beige outfit.
Diddy's family weighs in. Diddy's mother, Janice Small Combs, spoke out through the family's lawyer, expressing her devastation over the accusations against her son. She believes the allegations are motivated by financial gain and compared Diddy to others who have been wrongfully convicted because of their past mistakes. While she defended her son, she also acknowledged that he has made mistakes and may not have been entirely truthful in denying the allegations made by his ex, Cassie Ventura. Diddy's request for bail and defense on freak-offs. Combs' legal team has filed paperwork asking him to be allowed to wait for trial outside the Metropolitan Detention Center. They argue that the original bail decision was influenced by the high-profile nature of the case, with the first judge ruling Diddy should stay in jail to prevent him from using his wealth and influence to interfere with the investigation. As for the allegations about freak-offs, Agnifilo defended Diddy, claiming they were consensual. He said, "Is it exploitation? Not if everyone wants to be there." He also denied the firearms accusations, explaining that the guns belonged to hired security, not Diddy. Similar accusations in other lawsuits have been strongly denied by both Diddy and his legal team.
I was up. I hit rock bottom, but I make no excuses. My behavior on that video is inexcusable. I take full responsibility for my actions in that video.
For now, Combs remains behind bars, with the odds of getting out on bail looking slimmer than ever. Well, that's it for today, folks. If you want to keep yourself updated on the latest binge-worthy topics, click that subscribe button and notification bell for more videos like this.